Let's see. Hello, everyone. Can I get a thumbs up in the chat if y'all can hear and see me okay? I know we've already had some fun interaction in the chat so far, so this is great. You are a lot of fun already. All right, wonderful. Well, we will go ahead and get started. Hope everyone has had a lovely BB Dev Days experience so far. We've made it to the last day, and I think, we've had some really great content. So wanted to welcome everyone today to Quick Wins when it comes to building a public forum add-in in 15 minutes or less with Dan Snyder from Bennington College. Bennington College has been a customer of Blackbaud for nearly 23 years. So definitely a wonderful partnership, and we're really looking forward to what Dan has to present today. Before he does get started, I wanted to just go over a few housekeeping items with you. There we go. So as far as webinar housekeeping, I know y'all have probably seen this slide a million times over the last 3 days, but today's session is being recorded and you will have access to this session and the slides that come with it following today's session. If you have any sort of issues throughout when it comes to technicalities, try refreshing that browser or changing over your audio settings if you have any of those issues. I will be monitoring the Q&A section of this, and I'll be answering, or we will turn questions over to Dan at the end of today's session for any sort of questions y'all may have, so don't be shy. But other than that, I'll go ahead and hand things over to Dan and let him get started.
All right. Thank you very much.
Dan,
all right. Thank you. I am going to share my screen with you all. And thank you for that introduction. I'm also going to hide my video here. So some of you may recognize yourself here, but I'm Dan Snyder, Director of Advancement Services at Bennington College. I live just across the border in Salem, New York, a small town in upstate New York. Outside of work, I can't help but continue doing some of the fundraising stuff with Salem Community Foundation. And if you want to connect after this, find me in the community or on LinkedIn. So let's just see here if I can get this to move forward. So our agenda today, I'll just kind of go over this, is briefly define Sky add-ins and their various forms. We're going to create a public forum Sky add-in. And finally, we're going to have some fun, hopefully, as we go along. So the other thing I want to mention, you may be wondering, it says we're going to create this in 15 minutes or less. Why is this an hour-long session? And that's a very good question. But I'm going to give you a little bit of background before we go into the building. When we get to the building point, I just decided just now I'm going to set a timer on my phone and make sure we try to get it done in under 15 minutes. So with that, what is a Sky add-in? And there's a couple definitions we'll go with. One is the Blackbaud definition and resource. Sky add-ins allow developers to build complementary features that integrate deeply within the user interface of Blackbaud solutions. With add-ins, developers can use familiar development technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to augment out-of-box product areas with new functionality. Whew. I'm not exactly sure what all of that means or says, and it sounds very developer-y to me. So I like the non-developer version a little bit better, which is a way to extend the capabilities of your Blackbaud solution with custom tiles, pages, buttons, and modals. And as I was typing that up, it made me think of Wizard of Oz. So, and then a little bit more, what is a Sky in, kind of the how and the what. So there's the type of add-in, so how it is displayed. So there's a tile, a button, fly out, and modal, and I've highlighted modal because that's really the one that we're going to be using today. Really, it kind of pops up over top of your web page or your instance of RE. And the other is what is displayed. So the public form, I consider that this one, to just get a public form to display is fairly basic. It's a great place to start, where you can just say, hey, I built an add-in. I added something to Razor's Edge or whatever. I know there's extensions for FE, NXT as well. I just use Razor's Edge mostly. The next, Microsoft Power BI. I call that intermediate. You do need the ability, obviously, to build those Power BI reports that you're then going to put in there. And then there's a couple advanced, what I consider advanced one, that's Microsoft Power Apps and or adaptive cards. Those are really highly customized versions. I may touch on adaptive cards a little bit at the end, just in discussing why a public form may be something that is some pros and cons of using the public form. So with that, I've got to get my timer started here because we're about to get into it. Before I do that, a couple things that I just wanted to mention. I'm assuming that everybody has a Sky Developer account. If you want to follow along, get your public form kind of up and ready, and we'll go from there. You can just follow along too, and this will be obviously on the recording. I just have a sample Google form is what I'm going to display. So here we go. I've started my timer. So one, create a Sky Developer account. We've discussed this is kind of a prerequisite of these labs, so hopefully you already have that done. Two, identify the public form you want to use. You can use Microsoft Forms, Google Forms, Cognito, Jotform, Asana, or Smartsheet. So regardless of what your institution uses, you can likely use that form. So now you have to create your add-in URL. Thankfully, Ashley Moose has made this super easy for us. Otherwise, it might not be able to be done in 15 minutes. So let me go over to another window. Here we are. And this is her post in community. So I'm going to do the Sky add-in URL builder. This is a Power Automate flow itself. So you're going to select your solution for the Sky add-in. You'll see the options here. I'm going to do NXT. The extension point for the add-in. And here we're going to check my notes because I forget what I'm doing here. I think we're going to go with the constituent page action. Name of the action to be viewed by your end users. We're going to call that, and thank you, Austin, for dropping that link in there. BB Dev Days test. The type of add-in for the action. Here, we're going to do public form. We're going to select the type of public form. For me, I'm going to use a Google form. Now down here, it's going to tell you where you can find this ID. So I'm going to go over to my Google form. It says it can be retrieved from the send menu. And let's see here. Copy this link. Pretty sure this is. And this is the ID right up here. Hopefully you're seeing me grab that. Then we'll paste it in here. And then I'm going to put in my email address. And there we go. We'll say voila or something like that. And so what I'm going to do, though, is I have to go back to my email to get that notification. There it is, comes from Ashley Moose. So here, I'll just show you really quick. If I can bring it over, it's going to look like this. So we're going to copy that at that link. All right, so next step, we're going to go to developer.blackbaud.com apps. And so I am just going to bring that up. You can obviously click on those. Oop, I thought I already had it on, but I don't have it up, so. Applications. See, I have applications here, but you can just click right here for a new application. I am going to call this BB Dev Days Test. This is fun. You can put a logo on here. I usually put my LinkedIn URL, but I'm just going to put the college's website for now. Shoot, I forget. Yeah, it's like got to put that in there. Sorry. So we've added that. We're not going to go over the team access at this moment. So here we are. If I wasn't going to delete this, I would say just be a little careful with your application ID so people aren't connecting it to their environment if you don't want them to. But we are going to add an add-in. So we clicked here, added name. Again, we're going to get BB Dev Days Test. And then in our URL was the one that we got from the email from Ashley from her form. So, and some of this is telling you the form type is Google, the title, BB Dev Days, and the button action is modal. And then we are going to pick development office, then constituents, and then a constituent page action. So I am going to save that. Next thing we're going to do while we're still here is copy this application ID. I'm going to just real quick go back. So we've done this, you know, and we've kind of done all of that part. We're copying the application ID. So now we're going to your app marketplace. So I'm going to bring that one back up. I did have that open. It's app.blackbaud.com/marketplace. One thing here you will need, I'm going to go into manage. You will need to make sure that you have the Microsoft Power Platform connected. And to be able to do that, you do need to be an admin, have the rights to be able to connect apps. But you're seeing here, okay, these are the connected apps. There's some other apps, but you see the Connect App button. So you click on Connect App. You've already copied that application ID. And so here we are. this is my BB Dev Days test. It's telling me what it is. It also is saying that this has no data access, which really it doesn't need any data access, for this. So here we go. I'm going to hit connect. I could go to the website. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to close this out and go into my record in RENXT. Up here, I do have a notification that we've connected BB Dev Days test. You can see I've tested it a little bit earlier. I am going to refresh. And here's what I like to say about the live demos here. Click on the Connect app, paste in the application ID. Hopefully this works. And I didn't grab the wrong ID. So it should be refreshed by now. Click on add-ins. We see our BB Dev Days test. And there's our form. So, and with almost 10 minutes to spare. So I did do it in my 15 minutes. Now, granted, I had some of these things already built. And so it's right there for you. And doing some of these are not necessarily, obviously this is a test form. So where are we going to go from here is I have, if by any random chance there's any Roberts Wesleyan graduates out there, this is Elvira Berry question number 1. So what? Like, okay. So, and Megan, I'll go back really quick and show that to you before we get too far along, how I got it to pop up. I went into add-ins here. You click on that. Then there's a drop down. I have several add-ins, but the one in particular was BB Dev Days test. I clicked on that. And then there's the form. It just kind of pops up similar to an iframe that you might be familiar with. So anyway, we're going back to this. So what? What's the big deal about this? What's done with the response data? And James, I'll get to that in a second. That's a good question. So what's done with the response data? I think one thing is this can just be there for your users. If they already are in the system, it's one place, one location for them to access all of your forms. It can put it in there, put it in that location if they're already in there. I know with a home page, now you can add your own links. So in certain circumstances, if you're just going to manually proceed with the process after that form is submitted, whatever that may be, you can do that. And it just keeps colleagues within the database, but also able to access all of your various forms within there. The other thing that you could do is that response or the data, whether that's an immediate response or scheduled, kind of flow, that could be used as a trigger, or it could be that data could be used in another Power Automate flow. And so I'm going to show you some examples of how we use some of these at Bennington College. You saw a little bit on the drop down. We have several add-ins, but the 3 highlighted: major gift stewardship plan, comms and IA sharing, prospect assignment change, are all these public form add-ins. So let's hop back over in my record and I'll kind of talk through some of these. So the first one is a major gift stewardship plan. And this is this is, as you can see, a Google form. And what we have set up is daily, we do have a daily gift notification, but part of that, it will pull out any gifts that are $25,000 or above. That's our major gift level. And it's going to send an email to whoever is assigned to that prospect, because we're not getting many gifts of that level who aren't assigned. But anyway, it will email that assigned prospect manager and say, hey, congratulations, your donor made this major gift. If you would like custom stewardship, go to their record and fill out this form. When they fill out this form with a bunch of different information here, that goes to our Director of Donor Relations and Stewardship and is the start of a conversation about the stewardship plan. So this is largely a one that proceeds kind of manually when you go forward. So another one that we have is comms and IA sharing. This one is a Microsoft form. One thing I'll just note while I'm doing this, for Microsoft Forms, when you get to the end and you hit that submit button, that can be a trigger. That can kick off a flow. For Google Forms, that is not an automatic trigger when you hit submit on that button. It will, yes, still go to a Google Sheet, but you'd have to have a scheduled flow to look at those responses to take something on beyond there. So this communications and IA sharing is really, as the name implies, it's really a way for us to share information that we might get. Our office gets a lot of Google alerts. The communications office has Cision, or I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, where they receive some, and we also receive quite a few just in our alumni relations email. So we're able to put these things in, a link, and we can say what type it is, the first and last name of the person. Now, something, Razor's Edge ID, if known. If you're already in here, you can see, well, look at this. There's my Razor's Edge ID. It's right next to it. So it's easy. Rather than going back and forth on tabs, you have it right there. Depending on, is this an award, an obituary, neither? There's additional things. When you hit submit, not only does it go through and add a note on the constituent's record, as long as it's able to match. If it's an obituary, it's going to decease, if you will, in air quotes there, the person, and add, follow our appropriate business rules in making the updates that need to be made as part of that process. It's also going to go to the communications office. They prefer it on a Google Sheet. So I take that response data and it's just dumped on that sheet, and they can mark it for inclusion, whether that's website story, magazine article, class note, anything like that. And the final one that I'll say is a prospect assignment change. Again, this is a Microsoft form. As I was doing this, I always like to have fun, so I took everybody's picture from the website. But what we were finding a lot of times when people wanted to be assigned or removed, there are certain questions that we wanted to ask, and they were maybe less than successful in answering those questions in an email. So we've put it in here and also made sure there are certain questions that they have to answer. This information is then sent to actually a Google Sheet, and an email is sent to me and my supervisor. We're really the ones who review all of these, and are able to approve or deny. If it's approved, then a flow will go through, make the changes that can be made, but there are a couple that have to be done manually. And so we'll get a notification of that. So that's another example. Now, while I'm here, and I've seen a few questions about like JR and Carrie, can it pre-populate with the ID? Can it pull some of that information in? I don't believe that a public form can. However, an adaptive card could. And that is something that is, it is a little more advanced, but it can be something pretty simple. And I'll show you a couple examples of that. So let's see, solicit code management. We use the consent module, and here, just to say, this is a flyout. And this is an adaptive card that I built. As you can see, very basic, kind of a drop down. Do I want to add or remove the solicit code? I'm going to add one. Here are the options that I have. Here, I'm going to add send magazine and test word of base. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add do not contact because I can. So it's those three pieces of information. That's all you need to add in. The way I've set up the flow with this adaptive card, it will pull in my record ID. It's also going to, with the submission, make all the changes, add the consent record as it needs to be added. So I'm going to submit this. Refresh it. You can see I now have a do not contact up here. If I went down farther to my consent, we see we have one from today, test for BB Dev Days. It adds all of that because I have my consent rules set up. It also adds the solicit code, so I've got that there. All of that happens. And yes, Austin, you're absolutely correct. Adaptive card will get the info. You can also, I'll show you one other one that I do have on here, and this is an example of a tile opportunity entry. And I did this again because I wanted to make sure that there are certain things. For example, the name, I control these options from the dropdown. So it automatically has our naming convention. In Razor's Edge itself, you can't have that's not a table field. It's a free text field. And so you could get anything from FY25 current use. You could have a space between FY and 25. You could have any number of options here. And so there's some of that. The other thing, though, is the purpose. You're able to, in the flow, push in table information. I'm getting a little ways off, more advanced in here. So, that may be for another time. And James, you mentioned about the solicit code change flow. I can certainly, I haven't shared it yet, but I can certainly add that in there. So really what I really wanted to show you was just how quickly you can build an add-in. And maybe, as you're starting on this journey, you're able to you're able to use something that you already know. Maybe it's easier for you to build that form in Microsoft or Google or what have you. But you can work with something you're comfortable with. Then, as maybe you need more complexity or learn and gain the skills, then you could move up to something like adaptive cards. It really, honestly, it depends on the situation and what you're really looking to do. But I did want to show you that it's really simple. It's pretty straightforward to do. So with that, I'm actually kind of done with my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing for now, and we'll see. I don't know if Tristan, if you want to come back up on stage, or if you just want to tell me what some of the questions are that maybe I missed.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some good ones. And they're luckily Austin's always super active in the chat.
Yeah,
so
no, it's great to have Austin answer questions. So
moderator part 2. But so this was one that I thought was just a pretty easy one to segue us into. But James had also asked, how do you get the add-in button specifically? Is that a separate add-in itself? And then that kind of leads us into our next question too. So I'll let you answer that one first.
Sure. So I may share my screen again here. So really, it's a combination. Once you make this application and then you connect it to your environment, so you're making the application in your developer account, and there's my applications. So you copy this application ID, you come over to the marketplace, which you can get from your drop down. Maybe you're in RENXT, but you can click on marketplace. You go over to manage, you click in here and you paste that ID. That's when that add-ins button is going to show up for you. So hopefully that answers your question. But if not, jump in the chat and say, I'm still not following or something like that, and we can try to work through it.
All right. Thanks, Dan. This kind of segues us, like I said, into the next question as well. Now with the RENXT homepage being able to be customized and kind of the updates that came in the product update briefing last month, can add-ins be added to the homepage specifically or to the fun page? Or
Yes.
is that something that you have done so far?
Yes. And so I'm going to go to my homepage again. Actually, here. Here's another one. So I have add-ins right here. I have an event request form. And here you go. So there's one there. And I'll also show you. I'm gonna go into this.
Your screen isn't showing right now.
Oh, sure isn't. Sure isn't. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? Thank you. Here we go. So this is my homepage. There is an add-in section over here. Let me just see if I can make this a little bigger. So there's an add-in section right here. Click on that. Similar to on the constituent record, you can add it in there. I'll show you on this one. I have one that's not exactly working yet, but it's working to see it. Is the information accurate? Not really. So this is a Power BI report, and hopefully it won't make me sign in. But trying to get fund relationships, the part that isn't quite working yet is I want to grab, for example, this fund ID and use that as a filter to only show those relationships instead of showing all of them and going through. So that's something I'm going to work on with Glenn. But as you can see, this is a different, I think this will become, my BI one will become obsolete, hopefully shortly, because they're just going to put that in, Blackbaud's just going to build that information in, and so we have it. But at the moment, it could be a temporary workaround. And in terms of the options for where you can put them, I'm trying to think of where the best place. Let's see if I can go back here. I'm going to go back into so look at all these extension points. There's action, the appeal page, the campaign page, constituent, event page, fund, gift, homepage, opportunity, a full page add-in, participant page add-in. There's all kinds of different. And so Pamela, how do you get the add-ins on the homepage? Homepage action is the one that you're. Yep, just like Austin put in there. Perfect. So yeah, that would be, how you would do that.
Good stuff. Thanks, Dan. Last question that we have so far, I assume some more may come in, but Bianca's wondering what kind of add-ins might you suggest for a smaller shop, maybe around 3 or so folks. I think Bianca's trying to determine if it might be useful for a tool or not.
Yeah, I think as a small shop, if you're looking for something basic, just to make sure that everybody is working or going into that database, if you're pushing them in there to use that, I think this would be a great example of something like that you make available for people on the homepage. I think we're hopefully going to be able to, at some point as admins, like force what quick links are on people's home pages. But for now, one way that you can do this is an add-in. That's going to show up. And unless somebody customizes their homepage, those will just show up. Those add-ins will kind of show up automatically. So whether that's a request form or anything like that, if you already have them, that's something that you could do. That would be a quick and easy one to get started with. It also depends how sophisticated your organization is. It might be small, but you might be doing really complex things. So I guess that's my answer, non-answer.
No, that's a great point. And one thing that I'll just say is that everything within this is truly scalable. So you don't have to get super in the weeds with this if it doesn't make sense for you and your organization. No matter we'll say, whether it's a big or small organization, you can leverage Sky API regardless. It's just a matter in a way of how complex you're doing it in a way that works best for y'all.
Absolutely. And I think, I've been working with like Power Automate and stuff for several years now. But I started very simple, and it's the same thing with these add-ins when when they first kind of came out. It's just starting with something really simple. This now is probably one of the easiest ones to do. Adaptive cards do take a little bit more, but they can be very powerful. And there's some really good documentation still from Ben Lambert out there. He wrote a couple blog posts about that are good. And James, I just saw your question, full page add-in. Does that mean we can create a whole page, for example, to house adaptive cards with Power BI reports? You're only going to be able to have probably one thing on there. I guess unless, and Austin can maybe help me with this one, but I think really that whole page is meant to be, if you do have a full Power BI report and you want to click on it and see your annual giving report, then it could take up the whole page just for visual purposes. I do have actually like a Power BI report of reports, and it's just a table with links so that people can click to that. They have one report to go to, but then they can jump to the other ones that they have. Dory, I hope I pronounced that right. The opportunity form is an adaptive card. Security around what people see. We don't let everyone see GIFs. Yes, I think with a Power BI one, it should respect, to begin with, it should respect, if they can't see a GIF and you have a GIF add in, they're not going to see it. But also, I was going to say, for a Power BI report, if they, don't have access to that report, then also, that's another layer of protection. There is other ways, and I have not quite done this yet. I know Alex Wong has, and probably has some documentation out there that you can just, so that it doesn't even show up for people if they don't have, if you don't want them to see it or be able to use it. So.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
These have been super good questions so far. So, Dan, I know you've done a wonderful job at answering them too and providing examples. I mean, even I'm a customer success manager for our nonprofit vertical, and I've even got some great takeaways that I plan on taking to some of my customers. So this is awesome.
Good. Yeah. And right. Yeah, can you Jira request form and publish that in NXT? I don't know that. I don't think Jira is one. But yeah, I can't exactly answer that. That may be a request to put into Blackbaud. Maybe either the Idea Bank or to Ashley Moose or Glenn Hudson. So, can you review everything that you set up on the dev page with all the app details? Carrie, let me just see. I'm going to share my screen again quick.
I think Carrie's just asking if it's possible. Or maybe they are asking if you can show everything, but how I'm interpreting the question is that possible?
Oh, who could see it and access it? I've not done that part. When you add an app, let me just see here. I think there probably is ways. I just here, I see what you're saying. Let me see. You're talking about in here, I think, Carrie. Oh, okay. And Austin may be onto this. Sharing with other members of your team, like this assigned team here. That's what you're talking about? Okay. That's who can edit this app. That's different from who can see it within Razor's Edge NXT or FE NXT or wherever you are. That's a different permissioning. That's like if you had a team who, I'll just use Austin as an example here. Let's just say we were using this app and we put in, you can have multiple add-ins on here, 10, 15. I think I have one that has 16 add-ins on it. But let's say 5 different people built them. Can you scroll up a bit to the top? Yeah. That way, if it was a team member, somebody could add those add-ins to as well. It doesn't have to be just yours. Is that does that kind of get at some of your questions, Carrie? I feel like some of them I may not be able to answer just because I haven't, but want to double check. And I should say, if you want to, I think we can just have you jump up on here and chat with us. Joe, unless you reach a limit, no, you could just have one app. Yep. I haven't reached the limit yet, so it doesn't mean that there isn't one. And I'm happy to stick around.
Right.
I don't want to just
stuff.
do the survey. But I can, I'm happy to stick around for the next 10 minutes, or you can have a break.
Yeah, before any of y'all head out, I am going to go ahead and launch a survey. It's 4 questions. I'm sure y'all have seen it in some of your other sessions as well. But going ahead and sending that now. And then if y'all just take a minute to complete that, it would be greatly appreciated. But Dan, fantastic job today. And thanks for all the wonderful content and examples. Like I said, I personally got some good takeaways, and we had some really good questions in the chat. So appreciate all of that helpful information.
Yeah, and hopefully the slides from here will be helpful to you. But again, just feel free to reach out. Don't try to connect to this app because I'm going to delete it. But
yeah, and as a reminder, you can find the slides from today in the docs tab of this, where you can see chat messages and docs if you want to download those. But yeah, other than that, y'all can either stick around if you have some more questions, or feel free to have a little bit of more time back in your day.
Thanks for coming, everybody. So let me just see. I'm just going to hang around for just a couple minutes unless everybody's all gone.